Welcome, Sun Prairie. I'm Nick Zweifel. I'm your Dane County Board Supervisor. And it's been a real honor for me to be able to serve you on the Dane County Board and represent the city of Sun Prairie. And as I've been serving you, I thought to myself, maybe some of my constituents and those of you who live here in Sun Prairie might not really know what it is the county does for you and your family. So I started this show called Supe Talk, which will be on KSUN, your local cable station, and my YouTube channel. And I thought it'd be interesting if I went out and interviewed all the people that make Dane County tick from all of our departments and the other politicians that serve you. And I thought it'd be fun for you to be able to meet them and hear from them what it is that they do for you on a daily basis. So I'm sure you don't want to sit here and listen to me talk. So I say I grab my coat and we hit the road and go out and meet all the people that make Dane County tick and work for you and your family on a daily basis. So come on, let's go. Let's get started. I think this is going to be a lot of fun. Well, welcome, Sun Prairie. Today's episode of my show, Supe Talk, we have Dane County Sheriff Dave Mahoney with us today, and we're going to talk about what the Dane County Sheriff's Department does for the county and how it helps out and assists our local municipalities. And I'm excited about learning a lot today, and I hope you learn as much as I do. So, Sheriff Dave, welcome to my show.
Nick, thank you very much. I look forward to talking to you and to the citizens of Sun Prairie about the Dane County Sheriff's Office and the services that we provide and augmenting your own police department in Sun Prairie.
Well, it's an honor to have you. So we'll jump right into some questions. And first of all, I've talked to you about this a little bit before, but let's give Sun Prairie an idea of who you are. So can you give us a short bio of where you came from, how you started, and how you became the sheriff of our county?
Well, thank you. I'm in my 7th year as Dane County Sheriff and leading well over 600 employees, and I'm very proud of the work that they do every day. But my journey began shortly after graduating from high school. I joined the Middleton Police Department as a dispatcher, and from there my the direction was molded by meeting several police chiefs who encouraged me to enter the law enforcement profession. I'd actually been working on an ambulance, volunteer ambulance service in Middleton. And so I joined the Middleton Police Department as a dispatcher, began attending college, and was hired at 19 years of age in the village of Cross Plains as a police officer.
Oh,
and I worked there for just under a year when I was recruited to join the sheriff's office in 1980, and I've been there ever since. I've worked each of our divisions, whether it be field services, which oversees our patrol and detectives and special teams, or our security services, which oversee our 3 correctional institutions, support services, which is our court security, warrants, extraditions, and our executive services, which deals with our scheduling and policy and procedure, those areas. I came up through the ranks. I was a senior detective, and in 2006, Gary Hamlin, the predecessor sheriff, retired, and it was the first open election for sheriff since 1973.
Wow. And
so I formed a committee, and the decision was made that I'd run for sheriff. And very successfully, I'm in my 2nd term now, and very honored to continue serving the citizens of Dane County as their sheriff.
So law enforcement's in your blood since high school, basically.
I'm in my 33rd year.
Wow. Well,
and besides that, I'm a father, I'm a husband, and have 2 great kids, two great sons, one who's following in my footsteps now, attending UW-Platteville.
Well, and I can also vouch. I know you care deeply about this county because as soon as I was elected, and you've always been, and the sheriff's department has always been, whatever you want to do or see or get to know us and see what we do in the community. You guys have been very accommodating, and you go to great lengths to make sure that The Dane County Board of Supervisors certainly know what you're up to and what's going on and what you're about. So I appreciate that as an elected official. So thank you for that. Second question. What does the Dane County Sheriff's Department do? You know, I think a lot of people they see the cars out and they think, well, maybe they just drive around and pick up speeders. But I know that there's a lot more, and I want you to share that. I know I went on a ride-along this summer that you helped facilitate for me, and I went out with, we have a K-9 unit, and I went out with Rico and Deputy Keith.
Sure. And
just had what a learning experience and what an eye-opener. And I did the 7 p.m. to 3 a.m. shift on a Friday night. I really wanted to see what weekend was all about for a K-9 unit deputy, and it was a fantastic experience. And I know our K-9 unit is one of the best around.
It is.
And so I was happy to do that, but I know there's a lot more. So I'm going to let you tell us what it is that you guys do.
Well, thank you. The sheriff, as a constitutional officer, is elected every 4 years in conjunction with the governor's race. And the sheriff is the chief law enforcement officer of the county. My duties are set out in the state constitution as well as the statutes for the state of Wisconsin. The sheriff is responsible for the maintenance of our jail. And there are really 4 main areas. Safety and security of the jail. We maintain the jail for each of our 72 counties in Wisconsin. The Dane County Sheriff runs 3 institutions, 2 floors of the city county building, 2 floors of the public safety building, and currently 1 floor of the William Ferris Center, which is our work release facility. The city county building holds our maximum security inmates, those that are the most dangerous or suffer from very, very severe mental illness. Our public safety building is our medium security institution. We have a lot of work release folks here, a lot of probation and parole. And our Ferris Center is our work release, which is our minimum security facility. And then in addition to that, we run a electronic monitoring program. And since 2006, we've had well over 3,000 people in the community on electronic monitors in their homes with about a 97% success rate.
Yeah, and touch on that a little more, because I know you guys work with the judges and the DA quite a bit. There's a lot of collaboration that goes, because trying to make sure that we're not just spending tax dollars after tax dollars keeping people behind bars when we might not need to. So why is that important?
Well, there's 3 elements of the criminal justice system. You have the law enforcement, our city police departments, our village police departments, our sheriff's office on the front end, arresting people, bringing them to jail on the front end of the criminal justice system. They then, once charged with a crime, enter the element of the district attorney's office, where they're formally charged with a crime and go through the process of initial appearances, bail hearings, and on to a trial. And then they enter the 3rd element of the criminal justice system, which is our courts. And where during a trial, they can be found guilty by 12 jurors in the community or by a judge if it's a jury trial before a judge. And then the judge sentences that individual back to the custody of the sheriff. And so once again, the sheriff's office is at the beginning and we're at the end of the criminal justice system. The electronic monitoring program has been in existence for well over 12 years. It was really expanded in 2006. We have a capacity of 960 beds in the Dane County Jail. It's really a city within the city of Madison. And it's a city that people don't think about. You talked earlier about tours. I encourage not only our elected officials, members of the criminal justice system, but the general public who have an interest in seeing what we do in the jail to try to address why people come to the criminal justice system in the first place. I encourage all citizens to come take a look, and we make arrangements to give those tours.
And who they would contact?
They would contact my office, ultimately me, and I would arrange for one of our staff members to conduct a tour. In 2006, when I took office, as I said, we have about 960 beds, but we were as high as 1,300 inmates in the custody of the sheriff. My predecessor began the process of shipping inmates. As many as 300 inmates a day were housed around the state of Wisconsin at a cost of well over $3.5 million a year that was not in the budget.
Yeah.
I mean, this was non-budgeted dollars that ate into our reserves. And as a result, I brought in my experience, roughly 30 years, today 33 years of experience, to say there's a better way. We can use taxpayer dollars. We've spent housing inmates in other counties well over $15 million. Mm-hmm. And that could have been used for other programs in Dane County. So in 2006, I began the process of expanding the program. I created a unit within our Correctional Security Services Division that manage our electronic monitoring program. They're deputy sheriffs and supervisors and support staff. And as a result, we brought those inmates back from out of county, housed them here in their homes on real-time GPS. I can put a bracelet on an individual, put them in their homes, and tell you within 20 feet of where they're at. I can tell you whether they're in their home or they're in their yard. I can set up parameters. I can, when they're released to go to work, the bracelet will tell us that they're eligible to be out of the house and when they have to be back. If they take a bus, it tells us what route they take, and if they get off that route, then there are consequences, because it is a privilege to be on that program. And as I said earlier, we have about a 97% success rate. And as I often tell community groups, don't ask me about the 97, ask me about the 3%.
Yeah.
And that 3% that we identify as failures are people who violated the rules. They stopped on the way home to get something at PDQ. Some have been caught consuming alcohol or drugs. We have not, to date, had a crime committed by an individual on electronic monitoring.
So as far as electronic monitoring goes, 100% for committing crimes.
And it is far more successful than our work release program, where we allow people out of the jail up to 12 hours a day unsupervised, and we really don't know what they do. We rely upon their employer or their place of education to help us manage them. And if they don't do that, the only way that we know that they're successful is that they come back. We really don't know what they do otherwise. And in that program, we've had homicides, we've had bank robberies, and that's why I feel so strongly about the electronic monitoring program, is our deputy sheriffs are monitoring those people around the clock. And there's a few hours during the evening where we contract for a monitoring service, but if there's a violation, we're contacted immediately, and we send a deputy sheriff out to investigate.
And so what other...
And so in addition, we have, in addition to the mandated maintenance of the jail, we are also responsible for the safety and security of the courts. So I have deputy sheriffs assigned to our courthouse. Mm-hmm. They're assigned to a judge, and they are there to provide security and maintenance of the rules within our courthouse. They protect our jurors when they are involved in a high-profile trial, to ensure that they're safe and secure as they deliberate and listen to the facts. We're also responsible for civil process. By statute, the sheriff delivers civil process papers, restraining orders, sheriff sale notices. And so those are the three primary areas. And then we also provide patrol services. Mm-hmm. In our field services division, we have a captain that oversees that division, and that's our patrol, which functions out of three precincts around the county. One in the town of Middleton, one in the town of Windsor, and one in the town of Pleasant Springs. And they provide primary law enforcement services in our rural communities, but then also in many of our villages that have a individual police department, they may not be 24 hours. And so in that case, the sheriff is mandated to provide law enforcement services in those areas. And then in addition, we're also charged with maintaining our special teams so that we don't have to have a special team in every one of our municipalities. In an effort to try to break down some of these individual silos and walls, we charge the sheriff with maintaining additional services like a special weapons team, so that when law enforcement is dealing with somebody who's armed or holding a hostage, we have specially trained and prepared members of our organization to come into any of the municipalities and provide that service. We also have a hostage negotiation team, a bomb squad, special events team that's often used for large gatherings of folks. Matter of fact, during the protest at the Capitol, our deputy sheriffs were on the front terrace between the doors and the crowds. And I selected that position because I felt our deputy sheriffs were the best prepared because of their experience working in security services to deal with highly charged emotional individuals. And they did a superior job. And they do that at events all across our county. And I'm very, very proud of the work that they do, the training that they take very serious, and the way they deliver services to the citizens all across Dane County. Though that gives you a brief overview of the mandated services we provide, but in addition to that, we expand out to other programs. We work very closely with Human Services, with our community deputies out of our patrol division. They're providing services to at-risk dysfunctional families or kids in school that are having some emotional issues that may jeopardize their ability to get an education. Our community deputies have the time to work individually with those families, with those individuals, to provide the services they need to try to make sure that they get on the right track. Within our detective bureau, we have detectives assigned to specialized task forces around the county, working with the FBI, working with the U.S. Marshals Service on fugitive escapees. We have a domestic violence dedicated team that work all of our domestic violence cases across Dane County and are really recognized throughout the state as highly trained and skilled investigators dealing with the victims of domestic violence. And then we have computer crime specialists dealing with crimes against children on the internet, which is a growing problem all across the country, not only in Dane County, but across the state and across the country, with the ability with social networking for individuals who may try to exploit young people to get on the internet and lure kids out of their homes, out of their communities, sometimes out of state. And our detectives work full-time trying to intervene and intercept these individuals, and we're very successful at it.
Well then, I mean, that's a lot of stuff. And so budgeting is the next, because it's very, complex. And after, I was a rookie politician, so it was my first budget cycle, and, I learned a lot. And the sheriff's department is one, piece of that budget that's, it's very complex what you have to do and manage. And could you give an example of, especially with the economic downturn, with the struggle it's been, and then, I didn't really get, because I didn't know what you guys did. I didn't know the full scope, and you just gave a really good overview of it. So what are the things that can turn your budget upside down when it comes to, all the things you mentioned? There are things that can really throw this out of whack pretty quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. I take budgeting very, very seriously. I look at averages over the last 3 years, sometimes over the last 5 years, to try to budget areas like overtime. And that's one area where we have really, as a organization, I have to applaud the employees for stepping up to save millions of dollars in taxpayer dollars by working with our scheduling department and management to try to better manage overtime within our organization due to sick calls and mandated time off, things of that nature. We are the second largest budget in Dane County. Human Services, far exceeds us, but we are number 2 in the budget ranking at about $68 million. And I take that responsibility to manage those dollars very seriously and to present a budget to the county board and the county executives that is accurate, in hopes that I won't exceed that budget. Because I understand that by exceeding it, we're eating into some of our reserves, which are there for emergencies. But some of the things that can turn it upside down are unexpected issues, natural disasters. Many years ago, we had a tornado go through Stoughton. And when that occurs, our deputies step up and do whatever they have to, even if it's on overtime. And the same with major cases. We've had some very significant major cases, homicide cases, in-depth child human trafficking cases that have mandated extensive work hours. And those are the things that we try to look at averages over 5 years and try to budget in anticipation of what we may need, knowing that at the end of the year, if it's not needed, it goes back into the overall budget. And so it's a fine dance to try to come up with an accurate number, because we're one of those departments that we can't just close when the budget's over.
Right. And you have to be there.
We're mandated 24/7 organization in many of our areas, in our jail, in our patrol functions, in our detectives. We have to have people working. And so we take it very serious, and I try to manage the budget. And we've been successful for 7 years in managing our budget and coming in with accurate numbers.
All right, so then the next leads into what are, the economy. There's been a lot going on in our society in the last couple of years. And so what are some of the concerns that are facing Dane County that have been escalating, and what are the trends? I know as a teacher, we've been seeing a huge escalation in the amount of heroin use in our teens. A lot more homeless, also families and children in Dane County is on the rise, and domestic violence is on the rise. And with that, it seems the drug issues, especially heroin, is the big thing we've been dealing with in our school, and we've had several deaths of overdoses as well in our district. And so I would like you to maybe address some of the things that are really that we're facing right now in our county.
You had many of the challenges that we have here at the Sheriff's Office. With the economic downturn, with the challenges and lost jobs that are occurring across the state, we see more foreclosures. And the sheriff is responsible for carrying out the foreclosure and execution of legal documents on behalf of a foreclosure, and it's one of the most traumatic responsibilities we have, to have to remove somebody from their home. But we've seen a significant increase in foreclosures occur over the last 4 years. In addition, as a result of the economic downturn, you touched on homelessness. We find an increase in homeless individuals all across our county. We've seen cases where they've had to spend the winter camping in our county parks, or living on our streets in the city of Madison, sleeping on a heating grate to keep warm during the winter, and also maintaining a budget to try to address the needs of public safety. As I mentioned, we take budgeting very, very seriously, but we, like every other agency within Dane County, have provided savings, whether it be in reducing significantly our overtime. We recently pulled all of our inmates off the second floor of the Ferris Center and brought them back uptown to the public safety building, which saved over $1 million. And so we're always looking for ways that we can do that without jeopardizing our well-known level of service, and also without trying to jeopardize public safety across the county. And we've been very successful because of the people who work here. The men and women who are the deputy sheriffs and supervisors and support staff have stepped up, not only to save us dollars in the budget, but when they bargained with the county, they've taken pay reductions in benefits to try to maintain necessary jobs all across Dane County to be a good partner. And they've done an outstanding job of doing that, and I commend every one of them.
So what are some of the successes that you've been serving Dane County and Middleton and Cross Plains and the Dane County for a very long time. So this might be a tough question because there's probably lots of examples from where you started, but what are a couple of things that you're most proud of since you've started this venture in your life of public service?
I'm most proud of how we have grown as an organization in providing a high level of public safety. The specialized programs that we run through our jails. We have 2 full-time teachers for the Madison Metropolitan School District that teach high school classes here for students age 15 to 21 who are incarcerated, probably on their way at some point in time to prison for a very significant offense, but in the meantime, they carry on their high school classes here at the Dane County Jail, led by 2 teachers from Madison Public Schools. Our drug and alcohol treatment programs. We run a Pathfinders alcohol inpatient treatment program that has had great success in trying to address alcohol addiction, as well as addiction to some of our most horrific drugs. In addition, we work very closely with our partners in the criminal justice system, our district attorney's office, to provide victim services, particularly in the area of domestic violence. We are a cohesive team working with victim services in the DA's office and our detectives working out of the domestic violence and specialized crime unit. In addition, working with our drug court to try to address the needs of our judges and the sentences they carry out, and trying to incorporate that into how we manage and house our inmate population in the jail. And we've made great strides in trying to address the core reasons people come to jail. 80% of the people living within the Dane County Jail suffer from chronic alcohol addiction. Another 40% suffer from chronic drug addiction. And we have a growing population of those suffering from chronic mental illness. One of the greatest needs we have is to create space. And we have a program going through the county board right now to look at space needs, to address some of the specialized housing needs we have for the mentally ill. And we're making great strides in that area. We work very closely with our partners in law enforcement, our city, village, police departments, our chiefs, to provide the level of service they need as they're challenged by budgets, to make sure that we're not duplicating services and duplicating the tax burden on the citizens. And we do that very, very successfully.
So if there was a young 19-year-old coming out of high school following your path, what is a path now in 2013 for somebody to become a member of the Dane County Sheriff's Department, to be a deputy or to work under this department? What would they do?
We have an active recruitment going year-round in the Sheriff's Office. Due to retirements and people leaving, we always have positions open during our 3 hiring cycles throughout the year. What we're finding is we have applicants coming forward. The vast majority have a bachelor's degree in criminal justice or some related field. Although the state only mandates 60 college credits, so a person could apply with an associate degree, and we would certainly accept them. But the vast majority are coming in with a bachelor's degree. We're seeing an increase in applicants coming in from the military. As they leave the military service, they're joining a paramilitary organization like the Sheriff's Office to carry on for the rest of their life, giving back to the community that they care for. We look for, the absolutes are no felony record.
Right.
We look at their background, what they did before they came to us as an applicant. Were they involved in community service? Were they involved in some of the highly ethical programs that we encourage our folks to be involved in? Because this isn't a job, it really is a calling. And it's far more than just coming to work for 8 hours a day. You're caring for people's lives. You have people's lives in their hands. There's certain constitutional mandates given to a police officer that no other person, even a Supreme Court justice, doesn't have the ability to restrict somebody's liberty, only a police officer. So we look for the highest quality candidates to come forward to apply for our organization. They go through a very stringent background investigation. And so, we encourage them to be 100% honest with us because we're going to find out.
Right.
And we're very successful in hiring high quality candidates. Right now, we have an emphasis moving toward diversity. We're looking for candidates of color and various backgrounds, not just law enforcement or college education and criminal justice. We're looking for a varied background to bring varied views and perspectives and experiences to the field of law enforcement in hopes that we can even better provide a higher level of service to the citizens and be reflective of the community that we serve.
Well, and I'll echo what you said, because since I've been a Dane County board member, I can tell all of you that you're most always at Dane County board meetings. When I'm heading to a committee meeting at the city county building, I can't count the times that I've seen you personally at other committee meetings that we have, sitting down or testifying or adding your opinions to and your expertise. And everything that I've asked, from going on the ride along and just getting information, the sheriff's deputies and Sheriff Dave Mahoney here has been very accommodating, open, and as he said before, he invites the public to come and see what you do, because you're very proud of what we do, and I'm proud of what you do, so that they know and that they understand what the Dane County Sheriff's Department is all about. So I want to thank you for doing this interview, and I appreciate your time.
Well, thank you very much, Nick. It's an honor to serve and quite a great privilege to serve as Dane County Sheriff. And I thank you for your support and working with me on the county board.
Well, that's another episode of Supe Talk, and if you have any questions, I'll have some websites and contact information on the screen, and thanks for joining us. Have a good day. Wow, now that was a lot of fun. I learned a ton. I hope you learned a lot too. And you know what? We're going to do a lot more of these. So I hope you stay tuned. I hope you check out my YouTube channel and my blog and follow along and read what the county is doing on a daily basis for you. And, until next time, Supervisor Zweifel saying we'll see you next time on Supe Talk. Thanks a lot. Bye.